Now, unfortunately, the term semantic web has become sort of a meaningless buzzword. You can throw semantic into almost anything and make it sound cool. Here's the real semantic web acid test that most projects can't pass. So let's see if we can use it to determine whether a given project will scale up to meet our needs or not. Today, we push unstructured information onto a website. Most of us have these kinds of websites, data silos, and here are a few companies doing exactly that. Keywords, PDF documents, MP3s, catalog pages, text, tweets, and hashtags. These are all essentially unstructured information sitting on websites that don't share with each other. To pass the acid test, the data must be designed to be pulled, it must be fully unambiguous, and it must be findable on the open web, not inside of a database. Here are a few projects that pass that test. This is the very beginning. These are the early days of passing the semantic web acid test. All of these are real-time data ecosystems, and that is the key. They are at the leading edge of the next wave of how we'll use information. At some point in the next 10 years, your business information will have to go into a real-time data ecosystem. We're less than 1% of the way that we will be in the next 10 years. Now, here's the roadmap of the world I've been describing. It really is coming, and it is going to take some time. It will be industry by industry, not all at once. But as I've already shown, it's already starting in several industries. So to sum it up here, 12,000 years of analog communication are now coming to a close. We've spent the last 30 years digitizing information, and that process is now mostly complete. We have about 10 more years of digitizing to go, but essentially the digital revolution is over. We spent the last 15 years putting our information online, most of it unstructured text, images, videos, and sound files. We'll put a lot more of this kind of information online in the years to come, that's clear. But we're at a transition point where it's time for the next step. We're going to start putting our most important information on a semantic footing, setting up real-time data ecosystems for all industries. This overhaul of our information infrastructure will take about 30 years. Most consumers will never know it's happening, and it's just getting started now. Finally, that will set the foundation, that will lay the foundation for the automatic transfer of information, or for products and services to automatically generate structured information. And this is what you could call the Internet of Things. It's much more than that. It's the Internet of Services, it's the Internet of Data Feeds, and all of them will have meaning that's unambiguous and findable so that everyone knows what each feed means. We're talking about trillions and trillions of data feeds here. This is what's called, some people call this Web 3.0, Internet of Things. It will be powered by the personal data locker. That's the key. The personal data locker and the semantic wave will give us the footing for making this transition. Now, from a business perspective, here's what's important. Each of these waves has brought down large established incumbent companies and seen the rise of new startups to become big companies. This isn't a timeline now because it's going to happen industry by industry. But as this semantic wave builds over the next 10 years or so, there will be plenty of opportunities for small startups to become big companies. And there will be clearly some large Fortune 1000 companies that will become much smaller or go out of business as a result of this. I got a call from a Fortune 500 company a few months ago. They said, look, we read your book. We think we have about 3 years left to go of what we're doing in our business, and then it's over. And they called me and told me that. So I encourage you to look at the transition point in your industry and see if it's just building momentum or at the inflection point, because it's at the inflection point where the startups can become big companies and where the incumbents are weakest.